Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors on Monday, April 13th. Our first order of business tonight is to take a vote on electronic participation for Vice Chair Steve Fidzikowski. Section 2.2-3708.3 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended, permits members of the Board of Supervisors to participate in a meeting of the board through electronic communication means from a remote location in certain situations. Board member Steve Fidzikowski has requested to participate remotely in the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors meeting scheduled for April 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. to be physically held at the Government Center in Christiansburg. Members physically present shall vote to agree to allow participation by other board members requesting to participate remotely. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
6 ayes.
All right, welcome, Steve. Are you still with us?
Okay,
All right.
I am. Can you hear me?
We certainly can. All right, our
Okay.
next item is to go into closed meeting. Be it resolved, the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby enters into closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following. Section 2.2-3711, 1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. 1, Planning Commission. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, we are in closed meeting. Okay, we are back, and now I need a motion to come out of closed meeting.
Motion.
Okay, we are back, and now
Uh-oh.
Might need to mute the volume, Steve.
Just did it. Sorry.
It was really weird to hear my own echo. All right, we have a motion and a second to come out of closed meeting. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fitchukowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next, we will certify the closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fitchukowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next on our agenda is a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance led by our County Administrator, Ms. Angie Hill. Angie?
Please rise for a moment of silence and then join me as I lead us in the pledge. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Next, we have some exciting presentations, recognitions, and awards, and I am having a technology complication here. Our first item is recognition of our retired sheriff, Mr. Charles Hank Parton. Come on up, sir, and we're going to read this resolution to you. If I can get my computer to cooperate with me. Here we go. All right. Welcome. It's so good to see you. How's retirement so far?
Good to see you all. Thanks for having me. It's an adjustment.
2 weeks in. Well, we are super happy to present you tonight with this resolution of commendation. This was on a motion by Mary Biggs and seconded by Steve Fitchukowski and carried unanimously. Whereas C.H. Hank Parton has announced his retirement as Montgomery County Sheriff effective April 1st, 2026, concluding a distinguished career with over 39 years in law enforcement and public service. And whereas Hank Parton served as Sheriff of Montgomery County from January 1st, 2016 through March 31st, 2026. He joined the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in 1993, following earlier service with the Christiansburg Police Department from 1998 to 1993. And whereas Hank Parton enlisted in the Virginia Army National Guard in 1983 and honorably served for more than 2 decades in the National Guard, the United States Army Reserve, and on active duty, during which he was deployed and served over 2.5 years in support of Operation Desert Shield, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation Enduring Freedom. And whereas he retired in 2004 with the rank of Sergeant Major, having earned 2 meritorious service medals, the Army Commendation Medal, and 3 Army Achievement Medals over the course of his distinguished military career. And whereas Hank Parton worked to ensure the placement of school resource officers in all 19 of Montgomery County public schools, strengthening safety and positive relationships between law enforcement and students. And whereas during his tenure as sheriff, he strengthened public safety through initiatives including the School Zone Safety Program, using LiDAR technology to improve safety in school zones, and a partnership with Montgomery County Public Schools through the Bus Patrol Program, which uses cameras and artificial intelligence on school buses to deter illegal passing and protect students. And whereas he expanded the capabilities of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office by establishing the Unmanned Aircraft Systems Drone Team to assist in search and rescue operations, criminal investigations, and emergency response, and by facilitating the purchase of the agency's very first armored SWAT vehicle. And whereas the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office received the first Virginia Law Enforcement Professional Standards Commission accreditation in 1999, and Sheriff Parton has maintained accreditation for the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office during his tenure as sheriff, making it one of the longest agencies in the Commonwealth to be accredited. And whereas Hank Parton served on the Western Virginia Regional Jail Authority, the Lewis Gale Hospital Montgomery Board of Trustees, appointed to the Virginia Parole Board, and collaborated with community and regional partners through initiatives including the Citizens Support Group, the Help Save the Next Girl Partnership, the New River Valley COVID-19 Task Force, and the Books to Badges program with New River Community College. And whereas Hank Parton's years of service reflect a distinguished legacy of dedication, sacrifice, and steadfast commitment to protecting the citizens of Montgomery County and fostering strong partnerships between law enforcement and the community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia, hereby commends and recognizes C.H. Hank Parton for his outstanding service and congratulates him upon his retirement, with deep appreciation for his lasting contributions to the safety and well-being of the community, and with best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors. Be it further proclaimed that the original of this resolution be presented to Hank Parton as a testimonial of the high esteem and appreciation in which he is regarded by the Board of Supervisors, and that a copy be part of the official minutes of Montgomery County, Virginia. And we've put it up here for you, and I would just love to hear you say a few words. You've been such a great partner to this board during your entire service. We're going to miss you.
Wow. Thank you all so much. All of those achievements you just covered, they could never have happened without so many great people around me. And I'm including this board right up top on that list. I can't believe I'm not standing here asking you for a police car or new radios or some money or something. I'm trying to come up with something I can ask you for. You guys have never, ever let me down or let the sheriff's office down. And Supervisor Biggs, top priority in 2015 for me was SROs. And just briefly, we had 4. That's all we had. And to date, we have every school in the county covered, plus 2 in each town. That's just incredible. So much work on your part and everybody else's part. Could not have happened without you. And I just glanced over and saw Marty. I can't leave you out. All the questions I've asked you over the years and the trouble you've kept me out of, and I never got to see the inside of a jail cell, so we did something right. It's been a fabulous trip, and I've been so honored to have this job, and the trust of the citizens, and the good Lord looking out after me the whole time and looking out after all of our deputies. I miss it terribly, I really do. Thank you all.
Thank you. Would anybody like to add to that? Okay.
Well, I would.
Okay.
It only took us 11 years, Hank,
That's right.
to do that. And I think that maybe people didn't know that this had started 11 years ago, and we couldn't just do everything at one time. So I want to express to you the appreciation, because this is something I felt so strongly about, having been a teacher in the elementary schools in a situation where things were not good, that were happening around us. So thank you so much for your support in getting this done, and for the board supporting you in getting it done. And remember, you can always toss your hat back in to run.
I'm not sure where the next fork in the road is leading. Maybe politics one day, maybe fishing. I don't know.
Well, you will be very, very missed. You've done an absolutely remarkable job as sheriff. You've left a huge impact on the sheriff's department and created a legacy that the new sheriff has big shoes to fill. So we have been just absolutely blessed as a community for your service. Thank you.
Could not have happened without so many great people. It just couldn't. Been blessed. Thank you.
Hey, wait a second.
As Steve is calling.
Hey. Yeah, I'm going to make a comment. I'm up above. Look up.
Of course you are.
Hey, I just want to say you look pretty good in civvies.
I hear you.
And Hank, you have accomplished so much for this county. I know that resolution doesn't include everything you've done, because you've done way more than that. And you have created an environment at the sheriff's office that I've never seen before. It is people working together, pulling together, and doing right by their citizens. And man, I'm gonna really miss you being on here, but don't forget, you're still one of my constituents. So if you get a pothole in front of your house, you call me.
I will. Thank you for so many kind words, and I'm going to miss you too.
Thank you, Hank.
You all take care.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
All right, and we have one more presentation this evening to follow that. We have, I apologize, we always kind of do this to you. We give you you have to follow something really wonderful, but we have Virginia Department of Transportation. We have Mr. Clark here to give us an update on road improvements, and then later in our agenda, we also have our public hearing for the 6-year plan. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thanks. I will agree with the board and everything, and expressing VDOT's appreciation for Sheriff. Thank you, Hank. We've worked with him for a long time, obviously, and always had great working relationships with the Sheriff's Office. Start off with just an update on our maintenance activities. We've been full swing into the spring season of stuff, with not a few little touches of snow still in March, but not a whole lot. So now, instead of snow, we're running around chasing the potholes that that Steve was mentioning, and just trying to keep up with them, basically. Been doing a lot of pothole patching, working on the gravel roads, pipe replacements, which brings probably the biggest thing we got right now is beginning here in just a few hours. We'll be open cutting Route 8 at Camp Carriesbrook Road to replace a very large pipe underneath Route 8 that's been needed for a while. We publicized that pretty well on message boards and on Facebook, and but they'll be doing that tonight, and hoping everything goes well. They'll have it in tonight and take a little break for rush hour traffic, and then get some asphalt out there to patch over it. That's our big project going on right now. We're replacing other smaller pipes. We did some work out on Crab Creek Road near the water treatment, working on some ditching on Yellow Sulphur and Oil Well Road, brush cutting out near Indian Meadow. Also did quite a bit of patching out in Indian Meadow. We're getting ready for the overlay season to start, and it's starting here pretty soon. They've already started in Giles County. So they'll be here pretty soon with both a plant mix overlay and some surface treatment and some slurry seal and all the various types of overlays. And really, that's about it, because it's the potholes and the picking up deer pretty much kept us busy the whole time. So that's all I have as far as maintenance updates.
Okay. Well, let's see if we have any questions. I'm going to start with Vice Chair Fidzikowski. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. David, ran into a very unusual situation on Mount Pleasant Road. The section that is unimproved, that is still gravel, there was an electrical contractor there today putting in a light pole. I think the contractor was Elliott, and there was no warning signs prior to the work area, and they just basically closed the road. Now, a school bus had to go through there, and I would think they would know that a school bus travels up that road. And there was no warning signs prior to it, and you know that road is not that wide, so it's very difficult to turn a vehicle around. It ended up being okay that they got the bus through the work area, but do they have to let you know, because emergency services had no idea that a electrical contractor was closing the road?
No, they absolutely are supposed to let us know. Any utility that's done any amount of work with VDOT knows the process. They have to get a permit to work in the road, and they have to have their traffic control plan approved by VDOT. I'll take a look into that.
Yeah, that was definitely a failure on their part, because there was no way, if an emergency vehicle had come down that road, they wouldn't be able to get through. They would have had to back up, and yeah, that could have been bad, but it turned out okay. But yeah, definitely something I'd appreciate you looking into. The other thing was, and I think you touched on it, the paving schedule. Is it out?
It is, and I didn't bring a copy with me tonight. I can get one sent to the county. I can email you one as well.
Okay, that'd be fine, or even at the next meeting that you come to.
Sure.
I'm sure that would be fine. I was just curious as to where it stood, but that's all I got. Thank you very much for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisor King, do you have any questions this evening?
No, I talked to him before the meeting.
Okay. Supervisor Kitts.
I just want to say thank you for handling that, those potholes that were pretty significant on Walton Road. And then you handled that pretty quick, and I want to say how much I appreciate that, because she was being a good sport about it, but they were pretty upset, and they were pretty specific, and it was, but yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs.
I told you I'm going to publicly thank you for getting that branch cutting out of the tree, because the gentleman that had been so concerned was so happy last Thursday when he told me. So good job.
Oh, well, I'm glad we got it done.
I
Yeah.
know you had to hire, I guess, a service and everything.
Yeah, and with we wanted to take the whole tree down, but it's not on the base of the tree isn't on VDOT right of way. We had a really hard time finding the actual property owner. I think it's actually a property line tree, so it's on two properties. But if it's over the road, we have the ability to just go and cut that part. We did when we cut it by the base. We didn't just cut it right on the property line. I think everyone's is fine with it all.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Grafsky.
I just have a quick question, and it might be a two-parter here. So as you're heading down High Top off of Main, there behind the hospital, and you go past Farmview, at what point does that transition from town to county between there and, I guess, Merrimack?
Yeah, I think it's just past Farmview.
Just past Farmview,
Yeah.
okay. And then, and when it comes to like litter along the side of the road, where does that responsibility fall?
VDOT, we try to do some litter pickup before we mow. I believe I spoke to a woman who lives on High Top about some of the litter issues out there at one time.
Yeah, I've noticed it.
And I don't know if that came, she spoke to you as well, but I mean, it's a really tough battle to fight, all year long. We actually have a great group of Adopt a Highway people that come in.
Okay.
And, we hand out bags and we, get signs up for their group, and they really do help us a lot. We've used, the sheriff's office before to get people out and do it. There's certain rules that they can mostly just work on the bypass and things like that. We can't use inmate labor for secondary roads around neighborhoods and stuff. But we try to do it as we mow. We mow only about twice a year on the secondaries, though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Supervisor Cron?
No question. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
All right, so we're done with that section of the meeting. Thank you for being here to provide us with maintenance updates. And our next item on our agenda will just move smoothly over to the public hearings. So the Virginia Department of Transportation and the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia, in accordance with Section 33.1-70.01 of the Code of Virginia, are conducting a joint public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comments on the proposed secondary six-year plan for fiscal years 26-27 through 2032-2033 in Montgomery County, and on the secondary system construction budget for fiscal year 26-27. Do you have information to add before we open the public hearing?
I'll give a little brief introduction and read a draft plan. And
Great.
Thank you for reading that part so that I don't have to go through the code sections and all that.
I messed it up for you.
No, you did great. I'll present a draft plan that gives us something to work from. It's basically the plan that was passed last year. And then the board can review that plan, listen to public comments, whether in person or if you get any more other comments through the mail or phone or whatever in the next few weeks. We will be looking to have a resolution passed, finalizing the priority list sometime next month. The June one would be acceptable also. We just have to have it before the end of the fiscal year. So I'll read the draft priority list, talk a little bit about the timing of it, and then we'll open it up for public comment. So our draft list, sometimes the first thing we put down is countywide traffic services, engineering right-of-way, signs, guardrails, stuff like that. That's countywide items like that have to be paid for through construction, not through maintenance, because they're generally new items, unless guardrail is being damaged and being replaced. New guardrail, new signs, stuff like that is from the construction budget. We put it on the construction budget. It's never enough to make a dent in the projects, but we put it on there just because that is where it gets charged. The first actual project on there is Taylor Hollow Road. This is a continuation of a project we finished 2 years ago. It'll do the last roughly half mile, third of a mile that we had originally planned. We were able to actually start it early because we had some money to spend to get that little bit done. Now the money is there for the second section, so we'll be doing that this summer, late summer, early fall. Second actual project on the list is Willis Hollow Road, off Allegheny Springs Road. That's another project that we had done the first part of many years ago, let's just say. It's been a while since we did that first section of Willis Hollow. It's around 609. It goes off to the left up Allegheny Springs, and we'll be doing another half mile to a mile. There's still another mile and a half of unpaved road on Willis Hollow, and there's houses all the way to the end of it. We'll get as far as we can with our ability to work under the various permits, environmental permits that we have, and calculating our land disturbance and things like that. Next project on the list is Poff School Road. That was put on a couple years ago as well. You may see a description that says we will start on Route 617, which is a Brush Creek Road and kind of near Pilot, and go again. That 0.75 is a bit of an estimate. We've been looking at that. We might change that to work beginning on the end closer to Route 8, but that can be made in the next couple of years as we get closer to that. We are looking at it though and starting to do survey and right-of-way investigation. Next on the list is Bobcat Lane. less than a half-mile road off of Glade Road. It goes up and ends. It's not, Paul School Road is a through road. Both Taylor Hollow and Willis Hollow also end in a dead end section. So is Bobcat. That's fifth on the list. Fourth in our regular projects. And the last one, I believe that was added last year, is Split Railroad. That's off Mount Pleasant Road. And that's another unpaved road with a good number of houses on there. So that's what was added. Those roads, the county gets allocations. This year's estimate is $788,485. Our construction budget is to that $788,000 is split between a telecommunication fee allocation, which is the fee that VDOT charges utilities to work on the right-of-way all across the state. That fund is distributed at the state level to the counties. I think it's strictly a population-based allocation. So if you have 100th of the population of the state, you get 100th of that fund. What's significant about that, 213,000 of your 788 is from telecommunication fee. The difference in the two funds is that telecommunication fee can be used on any secondary road, hardtop road, currently hardtop road. So we sometimes like to keep a little bit of that if we have to do some work on a non-unpaved road, a hard surface road. The rest of the allocation, 575,000, is earmarked for unpaved road. It has to be used on an unpaved road. We generally just keep a little bit of the telecommunication fee in that first section of countywide stuff, just in case we need something to do a little bit of construction. But in general, just to get through this list of unpaved roads we put the bulk of it on one of the projects, an unpaved road project. Because the telecommunication fee isn't enough to keep saving enough to do a major project on a hard surface road anymore. So that would give us, like I said, Taylor Hollow this year. We can probably get to Willis Hollow. The year after that, it's a fairly flat road. It shouldn't take a whole lot of work. And possibly Poff School Road. That would be in 28, I guess. Willis Hollow is in 27, Poff School in 28. And then we'll just see where the money goes to see how long it might take to get to the last two on the current list. But basically, you don't need to add a road right now. These will probably take us through for a while, unless there's a burning desire. One possibly could be added to the end of the list if you wanted, but it's not necessary. I'll let you know when we're starting to get panic about where to put money. Right now, we got plenty of places to spend the money over the next 6 years.
Great. Does anybody have any questions? We'll start with Vice Chair Fijikowski. Do you have any questions about the 6-year plan?
No, I don't. I think what we've worked out on the 6-year plan is a pretty solid plan. And I know that costs of paving is going up and probably still going up. But now, the one thing I do question is, David, when you talk about paving, you're talking about the tar and gravel.
Yes,
correct?
Yes, all of these roads, and that's another good point. All of these roads, when we get close to doing it, I may just go ahead and ask that you do this at the same meeting where you pass the resolution for the priority list. They are going to be built under a design standard called rural rustic road. You may have heard of the term rural rustic roads before. Rural rustic road is a design standard that VDOT uses and allows us to pave, to construct or reconstruct an unpaved road to a surface-free road or a gravel road, paved road, using a smaller design standard than you would see on, a high-volume secondary. All of these roads have less than probably 180 vehicles a day. We use a standard from the Federal Highway Administration that's approved for up to 400 vehicles a day. So it's a good standard for these kinds of roads because they're mostly local. That's in the resolution that you'll pass, and the board has to pass a resolution declaring them rural rustic roads before we can begin construction. The wording in that resolution is that you don't expect a ton of development, or you don't expect a big boom in traffic amount. This is really what we're trying to do is, get the residents of the road out of the dust and the mud. And that's the purpose of the Rural Rustic Road Program. So in keeping with that Rural Rustic Road Program, we don't put, plant mix asphalt that you would see on the interstate to pave these roads, because the speed tends to go up with that kind of smooth surface. We're paving them generally 16 feet wide, more if we can get it, but generally 16 feet wide with 1 foot shoulders. And when you get school buses and large pickups passing each other, that's about all you want. You don't want them going 45 miles an hour past each other on roads built like that, because we don't take out a lot of the curves either. We try to widen some of the curves, maybe get a little bit we can. Mostly it's to fix the drainage and get a hard surface on the road to get people out of the mud and dust. And that's the purpose of the Rural Rustic Program. So you get a tar and gravel surface, what we call a surface treatment. It gets, packed down and hard, pretty hard in just a few months after, and you get a good product, but you can feel that you're not on a super highway.
Vice Chair Fizikowski, did you have any more questions?
No, but thank you, David, for explaining that to everybody, because I think sometimes people, when you say paving roads, they have a different idea in their head, but they will love what you're talking about, because it will give them dust-free and no mud, and that's what they want. So thank you.
Yellow Sulphur Road is like that right now. That's what we did. How we did Yellow Sulphur Road. And it took us a long time. We did it in half-month sections, but we finally got Yellow Sulphur Road done all the way through.
Does anybody else have any questions before we open the public hearing? Okay, I'm seeing no questions. So we're going to open the public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and read the guidelines for both the public hearings this evening and the public address this evening, so the same guidelines do apply. A sign-up sheet was available outside of the meeting room. Speakers were requested to provide their name, where in the county they reside, and list their subject matter on the sign-up sheet. Following the names on the sign-up sheet, other speakers will be allowed. Each speaker has 4 minutes, whether speaking as an individual or a representative, and all comments must be directed to the chair and other supervisors from the speaker's lectern at the front of the room. Please begin by stating your name and address, or where in the county you reside. Debate between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Speakers may leave any written statements and/or comments to the supervisors with the board clerk, and speakers will be judged out of order should they engage in personal attacks, use profanity or abusive language, or debate with the audience and not address the supervisors. Accepted etiquette is to not applaud or make loud responses. We did have a sign-up sheet in the hallway for the public hearing on the 6-year plan, and we had one person sign up, Yas Barna, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Welcome.
Thank you. It's Joseph.
Joseph.
Short for
Okay.
Joseph. Do I need to wait till, or is my clock started?
It has not started yet. We can get everybody a copy of your materials and then start you. Okay.
Okay. I apologize for having it printed out. I've been watching the minutes like a hawk, but the 6-year plan did not show until today.
You'll need
See.
to start with your name and where in the county.
Joseph Barna off of Bobcat Lane in Montgomery County, out Glade. Biggest question I have, there's only a few updates from last year's slides. I saw last year y'all added Willis Hollow Road, and it's already moved up to priority number 2 on the list, even though Bobcat Lane has been on the list for about 5 years. So that's kind of disheartening. I've been the only person that has come up to these meetings about getting roads paved. There's been a couple people who've been asked to get roads added to the Royal Rustic, terminology and naming. But I've been the only one for the past 3 years that have been pushing having a public speak about paving. This past year was, as y'all all know, we had major storms. If you look at the second to last page and the last page, there was multiple cars abandoned. This black car was out there for a little over 2 weeks. Tried snow tires, everything, couldn't get it unstuck. So you can kind of flip through. There was a tree that was down in the middle of the road that stayed there for a couple days because they couldn't get, people to get up there to get it out of the way. Me and some other fellow neighbors, at least got it cut and kind of spun halfway out of the way, but we did the best at our abilities. And then I'll just keep adding more pages and more pages each year, but I guess I'm confused. We have the highest ADT. If you look at it at 0.4 miles and you take Willis's 190 over the 2 miles, it actually brings it down to a 36 compared to our 120. So we're easily, 2 to 7, 2.5 to 5 times more vehicle loads per count. I know of 3 new people that have moved in this past year, as well as properties that have been going up for sale. There's a guy clearing out and making a different driveway to add in another property. And then there's a 40-acre parcel that is being worked on to be subdivided. So we are going to have even more of a higher ADT count. And there's been, a year that we got dropped off the list, then added back on. And then Willis Hollow gets added last year, and it gets added as number 2. And it already has funds for it. Mr. Clark spoke last year. It's $1 million a mile, and we're at 0.4, so that's under the the 500,000 that we get for allocation. But it just seems that we're just keep getting pushed down to the bottom of the list each year, even though I'm the only one coming up and asking why and how. So that's.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody else here to speak on the VDOT Secondary Road 6-year plan? Seeing no one else come forward, we're going to close the public hearing on that matter, and then the board will take a vote on the 6-year plan on one of our agendas in May?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next item that we have for public hearing tonight is we actually have 2 portions to it. It's a request by JJB Properties, LLC, to amend proffered conditions of rezoning ORD-FY-20-02, originally approved on September 23rd, 2019. The applicant is proposing revisions to the site's approved master plan. Same applicant is also requesting to amend a special use permit originally approved on September 23rd, 2019 to allow mini warehouses in the community business zoning district. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you. Going to apologize ahead of time. It is allergy season and my voice may show it in a minute, so we'll get through it. These are the vicinity maps for the property. As you stated, this is for an amendment to a rezoning and an amendment to a special use permit. The property is located just outside the town of Blacksburg off of Harding Road. A lot of people recognize this property through the name of the business that's located on one of the properties, and that's the Bug Shop. That tends to be a queue, and everyone seems to recognize it that way. So this is the aerial photo of the property. This is the Bug Shop property here. And then there's a site right here that was approved for a special use permit to allow mini warehouses. And then this is all zoned residential R2. It was not rezoned back in 2019. It was already R2. So you can see the zoning here. The orange is general business. The light tannish color here is community business with the special use permit for the mini warehouses. And then this is R2 here. So as you stated, in September of 2019, there was an approved rezoning with proffers. At that time, it involved the 3 parcels here at the front. We rezoned, this was split zoned, general business and residential. We rezoned it totally to residential R2 to allow the single-family dwelling to be in conformance with the zoning ordinance. The bug shop also was split zoned, general business and residential R2. That was rezoned to general business to allow the bug shop to then be in conformance. And then we rezoned this parcel here to community business with a special use permit to allow the miniature warehouses. This is the plan that was approved at that time. So I'm going to start here with the special use permit for the mini warehouses because that's kind of what started this whole request. They wanted to come in and develop one of the future buildings as shown on the plan. The buildings that were shown as future and were parallel to Harding Road had a condition that stated they had to come back to get an amendment to the SUP if they wanted to build one of those. They also took that as an opportunity to revise some of the parking locations, add some additional parking specifically for like RV or boat storage because that seems to be a big driver now for storage areas. And then to eliminate one of those access entrances. So I put both plans up here. I zoomed in on the plan that they provided. This was the previously approved plan on the right. So you can see they had this large future building area here, one here, and this one was one that did not require them to come back, this future building right here. So they had a small parking area here, and then they had two entrances, so you could just kind of to go around. They are proposing to close one of those entrances, have the furthest entrance from the Harding Road intersection, adding some parking here, construct the 4 buildings with a smaller 100-foot building here, and then everything else pretty much remains the same. So for the rezoning, they're requesting to amend their proffered conditions. They wanted to add a property management office, which is a by right use in the general business zoning district. But because of the proffered conditions, they had to amend their master plan to show that on the master plan. So that's the amendment to the proffer. They also made a minor change to the public street that will be constructed through there, and instead of a temporary cul-de-sac, they're proposing a T-around because that also allows them future access. So I will show that here. Again, on the right, this was the original approval. This is the bug shop here on the bottom. So they've added in the parking here. This is the proposed property management office. It will be on a separate parcel. Both will be accessed off of the new public street that is proposed. And then this is the T turnaround versus the cul-de-sac. And then this is the overall plan, so you can see it all put together without me cropping everything out. And then this is the overall development plan that they have. I mentioned earlier that the rear of the property was zoned residential R2. They are proposing to eventually do some single-family dwellings back there as a subdivision. That would be a by right development as well. It does have to go through the major subdivision plat approval because it will require the construction and the extension of that public street. So these are pictures of the property. You're standing on the mini warehouse site here. This is the bug shop. And then same, this is standing off Harding Road. This is the mini warehouses. This is about where the proposed property management office would be. And then this is looking back on the site. They do have a current mass grading plan that was approved by the county, so they have been out there doing some grading. So there will be the installation of a public street. It will be taken over for maintenance by VDOT once they meet all of VDOT requirements. One of those, and you will see in the proffers, is that there has to be at least 3 dwellings on the property or a certain number of cars per day. Sorry, totally blanked out there for a second. The access off that public street will be used for mini warehouses, the property management office, the existing automotive service shop. So if you're familiar with this now, the bug shop currently comes right off of Harding. And my understanding is it's just one long entrance. So that will be made into a much better situation. And then the future single-family dwellings, should those be constructed. VDOT has reviewed this. They took no exception. They did not have an issue with the T turnaround revision, and they actually preferred the single entrance to the mini warehouses. Montgomery County Utilities does not have public water and sewer in the area. The mini warehouses, of course, do not require water and sewer. The existing and proposed uses will be served by well and septic, and that we will require approval from VDH before the new property management office can move forward with permitting. The property does not lie within a FEMA-designated flood zone. The property does lie in an area of residential transition in the current Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. Non-residential uses are not discussed in the goals and objectives for this section, but it does state that development should be compatible with adjacent neighborhoods and subdivisions. So the proposed amendments to the SUP are consistent with the one that you approved in 2019. Professional offices are a by right use in the general business zoning district. And besides the addition of that office, there are no major operational changes proposed from the previously approved rezoning and special use permits. So the Planning Commission held their public hearings on March 11th. We did have 2 citizens speak. They were mainly regarding the commercial uses being allowed in the residential area. One did speak regarding the operation hours for the mini warehouses, but it was noted that the conditions recommended, and you'll see that on the next couple of slides, they remain the same, and there is a limitation on hours. The Planning Commission recommended approval 8-0. And here are those conditions. The main changes are we revised the date for the master plan. These are all the same as in the previously approved special use permit, so conditions 2, 3, and 4 have not changed. Condition 5 just changed to add that new date in. If they do ever decide to come back and do any future buildings, they would still need to come back, but right now they've not shown any on that concept plan. Everything else, 6, 7, 8, and 9 have remained unchanged from the original approval, and we do still have that hours of operation limited from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's for the special use permit for the mini warehouses. So for the rezoning, they also recommended approval with the amendment to the proffers. That proffer amendment is very basic. The only thing that changed is the master plan date. The rest of those proffers are the same. So adjoining property owners were notified. We did place public hearing signs on the site. Legal ads were run, not in the News Messenger, but on Cardinal News. That needs to be updated. Staff has not received any comments from the public other than the 2 that did come to speak at the public hearing. There may be folks here that have some comments. I'll take any questions you have for me. Ms. Merrick's, the agent, is here, as well as the owner, Mr. Boyle. They can answer any questions or provide any additional information you may need as well.
Okay. Great. Supervisor Karan, do you have any questions? No? Okay. I just asked first because it's in your district. Does anybody else have any questions for Bree or the applicants?
I attended the Planning Commission meeting, and I actually visited the site too, so I'm pretty good.
Fantastic. Awesome. Vice Chair Fidzikowski, did you have any questions about this?
I do not have any questions.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so then we will go ahead and open the public hearing. We did have a sheet available in the hallway for this public hearing as well. We did not have anybody sign up. If there is anybody in the room that would like to come forward and speak to the public hearing, seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to close that public hearing, and we will move to public address. We've already read the guidelines. There was a sheet in the hallway for public address. This is where speakers can address the board on any topic. We did have one sign up in advance for public address. That's Anna Vijayan. And after she is done, if anybody else would like to come forward and speak, we will give time. Oh, we have a presentation as well. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I did not know that there was a presentation, so we'll get that loaded for you.
Sorry. Find yours. There's yours. Nope.
Sorry. There we go. Third time's the charm.
Thank you, Jen. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Anna Vajayan, and I live in District A. And today I'll give you some data on increasing needs within the schools and the new positions proposed to address those needs. This is VDOE fall membership data on students with disabilities for FY20 and FY26, along with the percent change over those 6 years. As you can see, there are just a couple of categories for which raw numbers of students went down. For most categories, the numbers of students went up by at least 20%. For example, the number of students with speech or language impairments or with specific learning disabilities went up by about 20 and 24%. The number of students with emotional disturbance went up by over 38%. The number of students with other impairments went up by 49%. The number with autism went up by 79%. And the number of students who are both English learners and disabled went up by over 100%. Overall, the number of disabled students went up by almost 28%. This is data on other student categories reported by the VDOE. While total student enrollment did go down by 8% over this time, you can see several categories went up. Hispanic and English language learner populations went up by about 45 and 43%, and the homeless student population increased by about 53%. Many other student needs are also greater now than they were in FY20, though I don't have the data for you. There are increasing needs in the areas of student mental health, behavior and discipline, and chronic absenteeism, and the numbers of newcomer students and students with limited or interrupted formal education are also going up. Now let's look at some of the new positions proposed for FY27. The addition of ESL teachers will help with the growing population of English language learners, and the addition of an interpreter and a bilingual liaison family engagement coordinator will assist with the growing Hispanic population. The family engagement coordinator will also help reduce absenteeism by meeting with families and helping students get to school consistently. The addition of a school counselor and behavioral specialists will help with growing student mental health needs and behavior. The alternative education positions will allow students who are given long-term suspension the opportunity to come back to school in an alternative setting before returning to their home school. This is expected to reduce chronic absenteeism by getting students back to school faster and keeping them on track so they are not behind when they return to their home school. The speech therapists will help with the increasing number of students with speech or language impairments. And finally, since assistant principals are key for addressing behavior and discipline and are often present in IEP meetings where an administrator is required, the addition of APs will help with increasing behavioral issues and with the increasing number of students with disabilities. These are a few additional positions that are not clearly linked with the rising student needs I've detailed. To summarize, student populations with greater needs are going up, even though overall enrollment is going down. And nearly all the new positions proposed by MCPS are necessitated by these growing student needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward to address the board during public address? Seeing nobody else come forward, I'm going to close public address. We do not have an addendum this evening, so the next item on our agenda is to go into work session for a discussion on the fiscal year 2027 budget. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski? Mr. Fidzikowski?
I think you went to sleep.
We'll check in with him and make sure he hasn't lost his internet connection.
Okay.
Are you trying to get me?
Yes.
Sorry, I had to get a bottle of water. Nobody is helping me out. I'm on my own.
The vote is to go into work session.
My apologies. Aye.
Chair DeMons?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. We do not have a formal presentation this evening. However, we do have several members of staff here that are able to answer questions if any board members have any questions. And I'll go ahead and start with Supervisor Kitts because you're looking right at me. Nobody else was looking at me, so.
No, I don't really have any questions at this time. I know we're gonna have some back and forth and some things are gonna come up and I'll go from there. But generally, I've looked through everything and I didn't have a problem with where we were putting things because I already knew certain items were already eliminated that I was trying to get pushed forth this year, especially in code enforcement, that we were not able to move forward. So I'm okay right now. We'll see.
Supervisor King, did you have any questions or anything to add? We can also just have points of discussion during this. This is just a discussion.
Yeah, we can just have a discussion.
Go right ahead. Do you have anything?
We'll talk about the budget.
Yeah.
Not our public hearing, but at our last board meeting when we discussed the budget, it was brought up that if we don't raise taxes, we're going to have to cut services. What was that pertaining to?
In the event that we do, because we're only covering, like for schools now, for that portion of the budget, it was only going to be for the covering cost of living roughly and inflation. The rest of the part was going to come from the county and minus a couple positions for supervisory roles that we were desperately in need of, that was the baseline across the board and not an inflection of a massive amount of excessive positions. I'm trying to work so much for my vocabulary today. That's the way I understood it, that it was a baseline, that it wasn't excessive, that it was keeping it in line and keeping up with cost of living and inflation on the county side with a couple of supervisory positions. That if we went below that in that portion, we either A, had to eliminate from schools, which was the cost of living and inflation, or we were going to have to do some stuff and make some very hard decisions at the county level with services that we currently provide because of the increases in certain areas. Am I off base on anything as I generalize?
I think that's accurate. It was positions, pay, cost of living, some adjustments for that. There's some mandatory increases in cost related to the landfill closure cost, the regional jail, and then the funding that was provided for the schools. That's a general overview of the items that were added. So I think that we wouldn't be able to add those things, but I don't know. I think your question was about cutting services.
That's what I was asking about because I looked through his budget. Mainly things in there is hiring more staff. It's not cutting services that we already have.
I think it's hiring staff to more efficiently and better deliver the services. And then obviously cost of living or a better way to address that would be raises for employees. And so I think both of those are necessary adds. Of course, we had many, many more requests outside of what was actually proposed in the budget and what we're considering. So I think it's a minimal addition to enable us to better deliver services and then also to meet some of the needs of the schools.
I'll say one more thing, then I'll let somebody else, and then I'll come back. Or if you want to move on,
No,
that's
you
fine
go
too.
right ahead.
A couple of years ago, we were sitting up here debating the same thing. People said, oh, just a penny. It's just a couple of dollars. Think about something. 2 years ago, it was 5 cents. Last year, it was a penny. Now we're back up to 5 cents. Each one, that comes out to around $24 a month. People are struggling. It may not sound like much to some people, but a lot of people has their mortgages set on a fixed income. As I stated at our last meeting, some people are living off of credit cards just to make ends meet. If we go through with this tax increase, correct me if I'm wrong, the schools are looking at hiring 20.5 people. We're looking at 6.75.
That's correct. Those are in the proposals, yes.
It's been said, right now, we don't have the money to give a 3% pay increase, the schools or us. So, ain't that what we was told?
That's
budget.
accurate, right.
So somebody needs to inform me on how it makes sense to hire more people when you don't have the funds to take care of the ones you have. We're going to be in this same shape again next year if the economy don't come up. I'll let somebody else speak now.
Okay. Supervisor Biggs, do you have anything that you wanted to add or ask?
Not right now. Thank you.
Supervisor Grafsky?
Sure, I'll ask one thing, and I apologize I hadn't brought this up earlier. But I had a question about just how the funding for the on-site health clinic, or some points of discussion around the funding for that. So previously, it was funded out of the self-insurance pool, right?
Right.
So the monies that were going into that from either the employee contribution or the county's contribution
Right.
or share
Right.
of the costs. And so now we are putting that, which, I mean, I guess kind of technically is on the county's budget.
It's not included in,
It's not.
the fund itself isn't in the general fund. The health
Okay.
insurance fund is not, but we have budgeted health insurance expenses that go into the fund.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a reserve in that fund to cover the claims
Right.
that we anticipate and make sure that we have enough reserve to cover
Mm-hmm.
payouts and that kind of thing. It doesn't exactly, so we moved the cost of the clinic into the Human Resources Department
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't really make sense to have both items in the same health insurance fund because the contracts renew at different times, they're with different people, and the health clinic is managed by the Human Resources Department. That's the reason that we pulled it out. We did have to add funding to the health insurance reserve this year as well, which we have included in special contingencies. So we shifted some of the dollars out of some of the cost
Some of the
from the
cost
health
out of
insurance
the
fund.
out of the fund.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we also did some backfilling into the fund.
Okay. So, I mean, even before we have the set aside for the fund itself, our healthcare costs are kind of increasing by $300,000
Right.
year over year.
So the total is the sum of the two, about 500.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And have we been eating most of those costs? We, the county, been eating most of those increases in healthcare costs over time, or have our
Because-
staff faced premium increases or anything
Our
like that?
staff has not faced any premium increases. Mark might remember how long it's been, over 10 years since the staff has had to have a health insurance increase. There have been just 2 years that the county has absorbed an increase, I think, this year for 27, and then I don't know if it was last year or the year before. 2 years. And I think we can attribute that to a couple things. Being self-insured definitely helps us keep the costs lower, and the health clinic really has provided a huge benefit to employees by proactively helping them have screenings and those kind of things, and also employees being able to get health care services there at the clinic. So I think that combination has really paid off well. I know when we switch to self-insurance, you always think, how's this going to go? And we've been very fortunate as we've gone through that transition.
Okay. And does our, well, it's Anthem, is the, I guess, kind
The
of our
network.
liaison,
Right.
or that, do they provide us any sort of information around, like how we compare in terms of spend per employee and things like that? And
They
or
do
benchmark
provide
us?
that. And we also have a third-party consultant that provides those services as well, and make sure that we're getting the best value for our dollars, and that our coverages are remaining current and good for our employees.
Okay.
So, and they also help when the contracts are new, they help us evaluate the contracts as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I saw that line, and I wanted to make sure that I understood that it was, in fact, it wasn't being netted out somewhere else, that we weren't pulling those funds or something like
Right.
that. So it is
It's
basically
an
a direct
add.
increase in
Yes.
cost of providing health
Right.
insurance or health care to the
Yes,
staff.
that's right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Cron?
All right. I think the county has been very conservative. If you look at the numbers since last time we had the tax hike, which was when the Blacksburg High School roof collapsed. So if you don't look at that part of the history, since 2014, 9 straight years, we kept 89 cents. So we can keep the tax rate same. Obviously, it has been done in the past before. But then, of course, due to that 4-year assessment and 30% spike in the properties, we had to lower 16 cents. That's a lot of $1 million. And of course, we absorbed it fine because the property values didn't drain our money. But obviously, with the economy, we can see that current projections requires the higher rate if we want to keep up with the rising costs and keep up with the salary increases. And whether it is our employees on this side, a salary increase, or the school side, salary increase. And again, with 5 cents, we can only give half what the school system asks. So whether they in fact, can hire the 20 people or not, that will be up to them. After they give their salary increases, they're going to see, what's going to be left and where they're going to be used. So whether they can hire 20 new people or not, this is, to be determined. We can't tell anything about it. So really the necessity of going down 16 cents, catching up with us down the road happening right now. That's why we're dealing with what we're dealing, I think, and part of the economy not being on our side. The other comment I wanted to make, because I think the last time around citizen comments was related to the decreasing student population and why the costs are increasing. Of course, Anna's presentation was wonderful because student population with the needs is growing. And also the fact that schools are designed to operate a certain scale. Whether you have a classroom full of 15 students versus 25, you can't suddenly not have a teacher. You can't suddenly not heating and cooling and electricity maintenance, security. Even though numbers are going down, certain things still needs to be provided. You still need a principal, you still need a secretary. So, and all the all the students are also not disappearing from a one particular grade level. Like suddenly you don't have second grades enough to close the second grades. It's all distributed, so it is not. It's easy to say, maybe numbers are going down. They may not need it much, but it doesn't work that way. Again, I'm coming back. If state pays their fair share and supports all of the school personnel instead of 50%, you can imagine how much money we will have in our pockets to other things. And with the same token, if the federal government pays their 40% special education share instead of 12 and 15%, you can imagine how much money we can have in our pockets to do different things. And again, I think Dr. Nick Fisher's presentation about the return of investment, it's true to the point. For 1 cent, we're getting 9 cents back with supporting schools. So definitely support our employees so we can give salary increase, support the school system, at least they can give their employees salary increase, and whatever left over, what we can do with the whatever leftovers, both sides. We are really depending on that 5 cents, obviously not more at this time, but definitely the 5 cents. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Vice Chair Fijikowski, did you have any questions or anything to add?
I don't have any questions, but it was clear from the presentation earlier that inclusion costs are going way up, and we're one of the few counties in the area that provide that. I have asked on several occasions, whether at our meetings or liaison meetings, as to why the millions upon millions of dollars of increased education spending doesn't result in test scores going up. And the only thing that I can conclude or have been, it's been implied to me that because of the inclusion program, or the way it's being operated, it's taking those funds away. So I kind of look at return of investment, and I look at what the state has done as far as tutoring and paying for tutoring for students. I really expected test scores to go up, and I don't think they have. And I am certainly not offering any solutions or answers to that, but just observation that this seems to be kind of holding everything back. School budget has ballooned into a huge number, but yet, and we're told that the most important thing are students, but yet their test scores aren't going up. So I don't know what's going on. I know we're going to get an update on the 21st of the collective bargaining, and I think you all have seen a chart that listed some of the costs up to December the 19th, but it also lists other disturbing numbers that are kind of hard to understand, but they're basically losses, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't say what it is, but it's hurting. It's like a bottomless pit, and I would love to see that worked out where the increases that they are getting directly relates to test scores and bringing students up. And That's all I have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Supervisor Biggs?
Well, my thought on the budget as it was prepared by county administrator and staff, I thought they did a really good job in trying to balance the school side, the county side, with the limited funding that we expect to be coming in, with the new growth only being $1 million. And so if you look at the whole picture, I'm in agreement with Supervisor Kitts and Supervisor Coran in that what's presented is what needs to happen. And as to Vice Chair Fidjakowski's comments, maybe what we could do is have the superintendent come here and address the test score issue if that's an issue that you feel that strongly about, that you want to know, how it all works. I agree with the information that's being presented, just my knowledge of what goes on in schools and the challenges that are faced by the staff trying to work with students and all the different issues that they come to school with. And I think if you get into a school system and you find out what some of these children are faced with, and this goes down to elementary school, and what these staff people are doing in the schools to help these students, i.e. students that aren't able to have a parent wake them up to come to school, so they have an alarm clock given to them by the school to wake them up to go to kindergarten. There are real stories out there, and I think we're probably not aware of when we think, okay, we have less students and they have greater needs. Yes, they do have greater needs. So I am happy with what Ms. Hill has presented and staff has worked on. I think it's fair for both sides because we have needs on the county side too, and we weren't able to meet all those needs, and they were needs. Just like the school side has needs, not just wants, needs, and they're not going to be met this year, but we're doing the best we can. And the other thing that I always tell people when I talk to them about Montgomery County is we're in a situation where we can't tax a lot of our land, okay? We can't do anything about Virginia Tech. We can't do anything about the foundation. We can't do anything about the arsenal. We can't do anything about the National Forest. We have two large towns, and everyone knows where the hotels, where the room tax, and where the meal tax goes. So just looking at all the time I've been on this board, I think Montgomery County has done an excellent job in physically managing the budget every year. And I think board members from before, during, and at my time right now, we're all working hard to make it happen for our citizens and to provide the services that are needed. And that's all I have to say.
And I'll add, I agree with Supervisor Biggs. And then I also am glad that Supervisor Karan mentioned that school population doesn't scale based on facilities and the requirements to not only maintain facilities, but also staff classrooms. And I think it's very easy to say the population is decreasing, therefore the cost should be decreasing, but it's not realistic to assume that those two items relate in the same way that they do, that people assume that they might. And I also wanted to just make the point, and this is possibly a discussion for another time, but we do have items in our toolbox. We've heard that said at meetings in the past. Taxation options in the toolbox that we are not currently exercising. So this year we had $1 million in new revenue growth, which is an extremely minimal number. It's the smallest number I have seen in my 10 years in service on the Board of Supervisors. And there are things that potentially this board needs to consider instituting or reinstituting, and I'm thinking specifically of the merchant's capital tax. So I don't want to get sidetracked in this work session discussing the merchant's capital tax, but I will just put out there that is a revenue stream that we eliminated that was over $1 million a year. And so while I'm sensitive to the impacts on people's household budgets, at the same time, I do feel like what has been presented and what this board is considering is fiscally responsible. It does not satisfy all of the needs of either the county or the public schools. In order to satisfy all of the needs, we would be looking at a 12-cent tax increase. And so this has already been trimmed significantly to get it to where it is. Does anybody else have any other comments?
Could I just add about the bus? I gave Supervisor Coran this example that I've talked about before. We're talking about decrease in student. All right, I'm a bus driver, okay? So let's say I have a certain number of students on my route. And let's say 5 of them are no longer on my route. Does that mean that my route decreases? Does that mean my gas decreases? Does that mean my time decreases? No. So I think that's a pretty easy way to look at it. It's like, even if you have less, you still have to cover ground. That's all I add.
Anybody else? Supervisor King?
I still don't think this is the time to add staff. As I said, having trouble with the economy now, we got a little over $1 million new money. You were used to having, what, 2 or 3 million? This is not the time to add people, because next year we're going to be sitting here debating how we're going to get them a raise next year.
So I had asked this a lot earlier because I was trying to equate this with Roanoke and Roanoke County and the size of the population. And one thing that was throwing us off per employee for services offered was because of the towns, and there's some duplicate services that are offered within the towns. So I know staff's been working on this for a long time, so I'm encouraged by some of the things that I've heard, because the big thing I talked about was called force projection. I know poor Angie had to look that up and figure that one out because I'm too institutionalized for the Army thing. But that's the ability to be able to look forward and to be able to match your manning with the resources that are available for the services that are needed as you look forward and you're able to project forward. And that's something I've harped on since I got in here, because I felt that the county was doing twice as much with half as many people. So I'm interested to see how this comes back, because I feel that some of the turnover we have, and it's a lot lower than other things, but it's based on people getting burned out because they're having to do too much with what they have now. And I don't see that this is excessive. I see, in my opinion, that it's getting to the status quo of what we need to be able to offer the services that we're offering, that we're working some people into the ground when we could offset some of that. And I completely understand where Supervisor King's coming from, because I voted against the first increase we had. I voted for the penny that we did last time, and I'm not super comfortable with this because I know where we're going and how this is going like this. But I also recognize that this is a difficult time, and to be able to maintain our status and to be able to move forward with the services that we offer, there are some things that we're going to have to work with. It's not really accept, because I'm still willing to listen to other options. But I think when we look at the manning and everything else, I think it's going to tell us that we've been doing twice as much with half as many people for what we need to accomplish. So I'm interested to see how this comes out.
Can we change that to personing or peopling instead of manning?
Yes. Sorry. Apologize. Told you, institutionalism. It's a general term, but yeah, gotcha.
Any other questions, comments, feedback related to the budget before we go out of work session? Hearing none, is there a motion to come out of work session?
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
We're going to take a 10-minute break. It is 8:42. We will reconvene at 8:52. We are all back. Vice Chair Fitchikowski, are you back?
I am back, thank you.
Great, thank you. So the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Yeah.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fitchikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item, or the next thing on our agenda is our new business. The first is the rezoning amendment. This was the subject of the public hearing earlier today. We'll vote on this in two parts. So this is the revisions to the site-approved master plan to allow the development of an additional site to be used as an administrative, business, or professional office. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second?
Is there any discussion on this portion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fitchikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and then the second portion is the special use permit amendment. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fitchikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item is an MCPS supplemental appropriation to the school operating fund. This is to allocate $62,700 from the Patron Endowment Fund to support a new golf simulator facility at Auburn High School. Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fitchikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Final item of new business is an arbitrage payment. This is a $30,000 rebate, or this is an appropriation to ensure that there is adequate funding to cover the next rebate payment related to arbitrage. Is there anything that we need to add about that?
Do you want me to tell people what arbitrage is?
Yes.
Okay. Just as, no, I'll give just a brief summary, Derek. Arbitrage occurs when bond proceeds are invested at a rate that's higher than we're paying on the tax-exempt bonds. The reason that it's an IRS code, the reason it's required is because the purpose of issuing tax-exempt bonds is for a public purpose, not to earn revenue on them. And while it's not a penalty, it does start being calculated as soon as the proceeds are issued, and then if the bonds are spent in a certain period of time, no rebate payment is required. But sometimes people think it's a penalty or that we're having to pay a fee. It's just returning a portion of the interest that we earn to the IRS for the bond proceeds.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Second.
Let's give that one to Steve. Yeah, let's let him have it. Is there any
Thank you.
discussion?
Just quick, and
Supervisor
this
Graf.
comes back out of the capital fund where that interest
Yes.
was accruing. Is this the same fund where we allocated money for the
High school.
high school?
This is a county bond issuance, so it's a different fund.
Different fund.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Any more discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fitchikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And now we're into the report section of our agenda, starting with our county attorney's report. Marty?
No report, Madam Chair.
I got so excited.
It's laid out.
County administrator's report.
I have two things to report on that were really good over the weekend. One was we had Brooming and Blooming on Saturday, the 11th, and that was very successful. It's a volunteer, we coordinate volunteers to help pick up trash around the county. And then our career and volunteer fire and rescue and EMS providers work together with the Red Cross on Saturday as well to distribute smoke detectors to mobile home communities on Pepper's Ferry Road. I think they went to 4 mobile home communities, and if people wanted them to drop off the smoke detector, they would do that. But if people wanted them to install them, they did that as well. So that was very good and successful project. They hope to do that again in the Merrimack area. And then 2 upcoming dates. Montgomery Matters Village Meeting is on April 23rd in Rhiner at Auburn Middle School from 5 to 7:30. And Parks and Rec Master Plan is April 30th in Multipurpose Room 2 from 4 to 7. That's all I have.
Thank you. And now we have board members' reports, and we're going to start with Supervisor Grafsky.
All right. I just have one thing to bring up. As you all know, one of my appointments is to the New River Valley Regional Commission. And at our last meeting, I was really excited to get an update from their executive director, Kevin Bird, that construction has begun, or renovations have begun on their new offices in Christiansburg. So they're real excited about that. I know that that group is looking forward to taking up occupancy in that building once it's done. And I drive by there a lot, so I get to see as they're making progress and things. So that's really exciting for the Regional Commission and for the region, because, I mean, as you know, the Regional Commission is just has their hands in so many things. And so to give them, more space to be able to continue to support projects and is going to be really great. Thanks.
Great. And we will move to Supervisor Kitts next.
No report, thank you.
Supervisor Karan.
All right, I think the one and only big accomplishment is finishing budgeting module. So I'm moving on to land use beginning of May, so.
Fantastic. Supervisor King.
Don't have no report, but I would like to thank everybody for coming out to our oyster supper. We had a really good fundraiser that day, and also our community Easter egg hunt. I think we hid something like 10,000 eggs. Them little kids had a good time out there. And I do appreciate Parks and Rec. They sent somebody out there. Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs.
No report.
Vice Chair Fidjakowski.
I wanted to thank our emergency services folks down in Elliston. They had 2 very difficult calls in the past 7 days, and I know that weighs heavily on them when there's a loss of life, and I appreciate them and what they do and what they have to face on a daily basis. On a lighter note, I am glad to hear from Supervisor Grafsky that the Regional Commission is moving forward. That is something that during my time on the Regional Commission was a big topic as to where to move the organization, because it was just outgrowing their facilities. And I think it's great to have them here in Montgomery County, and look forward to meeting over in their new building. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just have a couple of brief things. First, I want to mention and thank Virginia Tech's students. This past weekend was the big event at Virginia Tech, where hundreds of Virginia Tech students participated in service projects throughout the community. So I know in my home, they did a very lovely job raking my yard, getting up all the sticks, and helping me get my beds mulched. And that's the kind of work that they do kind of area-wide. They do the big event in April, and then Greeks Giving Back is in the fall. So It's not exclusive to Blacksburg citizens, it's the entire community. So they do send crews out to Christiansburg, out to Reiner, out to Elliston. So if you happen to see information about sign up for the big event, anybody is eligible. There is no pre-qualifications to be able to get student volunteers to come to your home. And I was blessed to have a group of young ladies from the Latino Engineering Society come to my home, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. They were there for several hours and worked really hard, and I was very pleased to have them. Continuing in the vein of Virginia Tech this week is the Week of Remembrance at Virginia Tech. On Thursday, April 16th, will be the lighting of the ceremonial candle at the memorial on the drill field. That occurs at 12:01 a.m., and it will be lit for 24 hours. Members of the Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets will stand and watch the entire time that candle is lit. There's a brief wreath-laying ceremony on April 16th at 9:43 a.m. Anybody is welcome to attend that as well. And then on Saturday, April 18th, there will be a 3.2-mile run in remembrance, and there will also be a service at the War Memorial Chapel at 1:30 p.m. So just encouraging people to attend those events as they desire and are able. Also in Virginia Tech news this weekend, it's Spring Family Weekend and the football spring game, so please prepare for additional traffic in the Blacksburg community and getting around the New River Valley. And seeing nobody's flagging me down to say anything else, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all. Good night.